Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novi-Williams, and this is the Beef in Wienerville sports business podcast, the Sporticast.
Well, where's the beef? Who's the beef? I mean, you went the beef again. I think
So
you
many
cheapened
puns
yourself.
we can
You
do on
cheapened
this
yourself,
one.
Novi Williams.
We can do so many. Let's be frank about this conversation.
Oh boy, what did I say the other day? I was like, "That's a bunner." Right?
It's a big bummer.
It's a big bunner.
Yeah. For
Anyway,
folks who did not hear, Joey Chestnut, the hot dog eating extraordinaire, has been, in his words, banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, the World Series, a Super Bowl of eating Franks in 10 minutes, because of a commercial relationship that he signed with Impossible Foods, the faux meat brand. Essentially Major League Eating and Nathan's said that to compete, he has agreed in years past to a hot dog exclusivity contract, and that has been violated with his, not even a hot dog, his fake hot dog deal with Impossible Foods. This story took off, Scott. I know Joey Chestnut is a name for some sports fans because he's been doing this for a very long time at a very elite level. But even I was surprised by how
he's
much.
been doing this at a long time at an elite level.
It's LeBron level at this point, Joey Chestnut. Were you surprised at all that this became such a big story? It's an interesting business story, that's for sure.
No, I'm not. It's got everything. It's got stupidity. It's got sports business. It's perfect for sort of like where we are. It's these sort of one-off events that aren't sort of, traditional sporty thing. It's the July 4th. It's coming up. Everybody's firing up the grill the last couple of weeks where it's warm on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. No, this is, what do? We have a very simple test sometimes here, right? We call it the barstool test.
Yeah.
If you're sitting on a barstool next to your friend, would you tell them about sort of a headline? And this is a resounding yes. Hey, did you see Joey Chestnut got banned?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am not at all surprised by it. I'm just trying to wonder, like, what's in it for Joey? Like, more money from the other endorsement, or like, doesn't he kind of have to appear to keep this thing going? Doesn't he have to appear at Nathan's at the July 4th eating contest? That's the big thing. Although there's a lot of competitive eating these days, so what the heck do I know? But I'm just glad that we get to talk about it.
So he, according to him on his Twitter account, he said that this is a change to their rules from years past. So it appears as though he did this deal with Impossible Foods, actually not aware that this was jeopardizing his ability to compete in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Shame on you, Joey Chestnut. How do you not know the intricacies
that's one
of the
side.
contract?
I love that he did a 3-part Twitter thread and ended it all caps, "Stay hungry!" !
Stay hungry.
So I'm sure there's going to be more to this. Cora Veltman, Sportico's digital media editor, for those of you who listen to the end of the show.
No, I feel like the end of the show just hit. Yeah.
She is convinced that this is all a media ruse, that this is like WWE style, drumming up a lot of event to invite him back at the last minute and have Joey come in with bodyguards and break the chains of his handcuffs and then proceed to eat 1 million hot dogs in 10 minutes.
Well, it didn't work well for Kobayashi, who tried to storm the stage. As
you
reminded
I was going to say,
me.
it's a nice reference. Yeah,
Thank
Kobayashi, the Joey Chestnut, pre-Joey Chestnut, was a legend in the sport for a while, and then was banned from the hot dog eating contest, showed up at one point, and was arrested, handcuffed on stage. It was a big thing. I remember people I knew in college had free Kobayashi t-shirts, which I always thought were very funny t-shirts. So a trivia question for you, Scott, because I actually don't think you know the answer.
I have no idea. Whatever you're asking me about this as a trivia question, I don't know.
10 minutes is the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Yeah.
What is the record? What is Joey Chestnut's record?
Joey Chestnut's
How many hot dogs
record?
is he eating in 10 minutes at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest?
68.
Very good. For assuming that you don't know the actual answer. Yeah. It's 76 is the answer.
Okay. There we go.
Which is an absurd amount of hot dogs.
Just, what's the purpose? Come on.
That's almost 8 hot dogs a minute, essentially, for 10 minutes.
Ugh. And I like hot dogs. I like hot dogs.
You don't like them that much.
I don't like them. I don't want to dunk them. As a guy who almost choked to death on Jell-O, I don't think that I should be jamming hot dogs in there, thinking, how quickly can I eat this?
So if this ban holds and July 4th comes around and Joey
And
is
of
not
course, it's
eating,
going to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, correct?
CAS is going to weigh in. Yeah. If this ban holds, do you think there's more interest in the hot dog eating contest on July 4th, or do you think there is less interest if the by far the most marketable man competing is not there?
I don't think there is any way that his absence damages one's desire to go into the sweaty pit of gluttony. And so this is a thing, you do it because you're just kind of like, you want to go to the boardwalk anyway and Coney Island. You're like, this is a once in a while. Let's go see it once. This is not like Leo Messi is in town and we need to go see Messi. Like, this isn't, I need to go see the 76. If somebody down 68 of them, I'm still impressed. And I'm just there for ambiance. I'm there to say I was there to take my video. And then, like me, I'd be like, I'll have a hot dog. Great. I don't want to, that's just my warm up. Then I walk a little bit down to Brighton Beach. I go to Tatiana. I get myself a nice Russian food lunch with the fish in the floor. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. But no, it's not like this is, you're going to see the Michael Jordan of food eating. I don't believe that. I think people are going they're going to go anyway to experience the boardwalk, the nice date, whatever you want to do. Take the subway all the way, go ride the Cyclone. You're making a day of it. This is not like, oh my God, he's out, I am not going.
I'm waiting for Joey Chestnut to pull a Paul Rabel and start the Chestnut Bowl and bring over the best eaters in America over to a new league that's going to upend Major League Eating and do it that way.
How many do you think you could eat?
The PLE instead of the PLL. How many do I think I can eat? How many do you think?
10-minute hot? And by the way, it's the bun. Remember, you got to. That's why they dunk, because you got the bun too. How many do you think you could eat realistically?
Gun to my head, I think I could probably do 15.
Really? That's it?
That's my guess.
You could do more than 15.
You think?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think? Whatever you say, I'm gonna set it up.
Words. Yeah, you and I are gonna video. Then we're gonna have to now really justify this. So I don't want to go too high.
Be careful what comes out of your mouth next. What were you thinking?
Be careful what comes out of my mouth. Talking about what's going into my mouth. I mean, that's like 1.5 per 10 minutes. Like, I could do 2 a minute. No.
Okay. Maybe. Yeah. You think 20?
I think 20. I think I could do 20.
I love this. We should.
This something bad is going to happen here.
About your Syracuse pie.
Yeah, well, that's why. Like that. This is no. I just really. Are you listening to me? Do you listen to this show? I know I sometimes drift, but I just said, for someone who almost choked to death.
Yes, that's
on Jello. I'm not sure I should be doing hot dog chunks.
I thought that was. I didn't know that was that reference. I thought that was.
If I want
Jello,
people not to be Eben, if I want people to ignore me and not listen when I speak, I will stay home. I don't need to come here and talk to you for that.
Connect the two things.
I come to you because you actually do listen to me. I thought.
You know who could probably eat a lot of hot dogs as an unprofessional eater?
Yeah,
one of the Kelce brothers, or maybe both the Kelce brothers.
Nicely done. I would watch that.
Love to see them, and it seems right up.
And you know what they're going to dunk it in. Now it wouldn't be water anymore.
Now I do know. Yeah.
Yeah. What are they dunking in? Go ahead. Tell the world. Garage beer, which by the way, this is why you bring in folks like this as your investors and celebrity endorsers, whatever it may be, because as of 10 minutes ago, neither you nor I had heard of garage beer.
That's exactly right.
And now we're talking about it to our millions of listeners.
Yeah. So they are becoming I believe they're the
majority stakeholders.
Yeah, majority stakeholders or largest stakeholders in garage beer. The one of the things I thought about this, just to take it serious for a second, we've talked on the show about tequila and other liquor as an interesting opportunity for athletes.
Celtics win the championship. They're celebrating with
Cincoro. Yeah.
Cincoro.
The beer could be on that list easily also, right?
Sure.
It's
beer and wine.
Chiclets, the Barstool podcast launched their own beer recently. I imagine it's a little bit harder to get, at least at scale, than a high-end liquor brand, but It will be interesting to see two of the hottest athletes right now from a marketing standpoint, the two Kelce brothers, who have a big show, a big podcast, New Heights, which is a perfect platform through which to pitch and talk about garage beer. Will be interesting to see what their equity and their
But this is
involvement here
simple.
matters.
But this is simple to me. This gets you the introduction. Okay. If I was a beer drinker, would I try it? Sure. Okay. But this is just, do people like it? Is it good?
Yeah,
right?
I'm reading a story here now. Launched by Braxton Brewing Company in Covington, Ohio, spun off Garage Beer into its own company last year based off of its popularity. Based in Columbus, the Kelces are Ohio boys. Yeah, would be. I'm interested to try it. We'll
Do
see.
we have exclusivity at Ohio State football games? What are we doing here?
Not yet.
I
That's
answer no.
more Cincinnati football games, I think. In
Okay,
the Travis
well,
world.
not as many people. Sorry, not as many people.
Fewer beer sales.
Fewer beers sold there. Yeah. I don't know. I just, as a non-beer drinker here, I'm like, okay, is it good? Will people try it? Fine.
Yeah.
But that's why you bring these folks in. But I mean, it is a part of a growing portfolio. That's what we're talking about here. It's that sort of what used to be, what would you have? Athletes and restaurants, right? And it was a really bad investment, and restaurant business is hard, and so many would go out.
Very hard. Yeah. Margin is not so good as alcohol.
Yeah. But, Eric Jackson actually sort of looked behind the curtain here, and he'd been talking to a whole bunch of NBA players throughout the playoffs. And the tale he tells in his recent story is that what's being passed around the locker rooms among young players in the NBA are investment decks. This is where we're going. This is what Magic started. Michael brought to new heights. LeBron is taken to another level. There, where athletes are, hey, what's that? A tech firm? What's that? This is media adjacent, sports adjacencies. Oh, you're a real estate guy. Well, I have a deck here, so I want to walk it into the other locker room because I think you may be interested. That the sort of the DNA of athletes these days, the things like, oh, I saw a deck on a beer brand that you might interest you. It's just that I find it amazing that on trips in locker rooms now that the athletes are talking about these opportunities instead of just the game or watching cartoons.
Cartoons. You took the words out of my mouth. You always talk about Grant Hill and how
it was Pat Garrity and Grant Hill told me that story when they were in Orlando together. Yeah, the old boys would be sort of getting treatment in the room, and the young guys needed less time. But literally, that the younger players on the team with the Magic would put cartoons on the TV in the treatment room, and those two just sat silently, knowing they'd be there the longest because they needed more work than the young kids. And then when they left, in their words, they switched the TV to CNBC. But nowadays, fewer cartoons, more CNBC.
Eric starts his story with a good anecdote of Thaddeus Young and Zach LaVine, who brought each other. Thaddeus brought to Zach Overtime, which is the sports basketball and now other sports digital media company and league operator that has a ton of basketball and other athlete investors. Part of the story sprung from a conversation you and I had on this podcast with Larry Nance Jr.
Yep.
Talking about how I think it was TJ McConnell brought him in on Leeds. And now they're both investors in the European soccer team, and he brought other guys in on Legend, the apparel company. It's really fascinating to hear that a lot of NBA players, and it's not just LeBron and KD, right? There's some players in here. Larry Nance is talking about talking how much he talks to Herb Jones about this stuff, right? It's players that are not superstars, Jordan Hawkins, Trey Murphy, guys who aren't making hundreds of millions of dollars in their career, most likely, who are already also thinking about this and seeing what opportunities are there for them.
Well, they understand they want generational wealth. It ain't going to happen at the end of the bench. Although, you know what, with the new media deal, maybe it will happen. I may have to change that right there.
And it's funny that we're talking about this right after talking about the Kelces, because this happens in the Kelce world also. When we had the Travis Kelce's business managers on stage with us at an event last year, they were talking about Alpine, the F1 investment
Mm-hmm.
that Travis Kelce invested in. And one of his first reactions, apparently, when he saw the deck was, "Hey, I wonder if Pat Mahomes would be interested in this."
There you go. Yep.
So Andre and Aaron, they call Pat Mahomes people. Pat's interested. Suddenly, the announcement is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce buy into Alpine, the F1 racing team. So it's clear that your teammates, your friends, there's a lot of deal flow happening in sports locker rooms in a way that I think you're right. Obviously, I think this was not happening 10 years ago, and certainly not 15 and 20 years ago.
And we haven't talked to our friend Andre Iguodala much about it yet, but I love that he's sort of the interim director over at the NBPA, because it was Andre who decided, I'm going to go sign in Golden State because I want to be in Silicon Valley. I want to be near Kleiner Perkins guy, Joe Lacob, that he had that whole mindset of, I'm going to play in a particular area because at this stage in my career, I'm looking for these opportunities. Having a guy like that atop the union, you just know that stuff's going to filter down. The message he's going to say is, guys, there's so much more than basketball here. Utilize your notoriety and your positioning to get in on this stuff now. Start while you are a young player. Plan for the last day on your first day.
I would wonder how much, and I have some just pure conjecture, but I would wonder how different this is by sport. If you were to go into an NHL locker room or a Major League Baseball clubhouse, if you would see a very different set of things, or if you would see it roughly the same. Basketball players, at least in my mind, seem to be doing more of the kind of VC tech investment than we see in other leagues, but there's also fewer of them, smaller rosters, more concentration of stars, more visible players in a lot of ways. I would be curious if we think this holds up evenly across sports or if it varies dramatically.
Let's just play the game percentage wise as total guess.
Yeah.
NBA 1, NFL 2, NHL 3, MLB 4.
Yeah, I may have the same list. I might swap 3 and 4. There's a big language barrier, obviously, in both hockey and baseball locker rooms, more so than the other two, which I think obviously stems a bit of the socializing that happens in some locker rooms. But yeah, I think I would have the same list there.
Yeah, but it is just sort of what it is now. I mean, if Warren
NBA
Buffett's
players
the oracle,
also get paid more, right?
The
equivalent
guaranteed
bench
baby
player in the NBA is making a lot more money than the equivalent bench player in any of those other three sports, and makes sense that the more expendable income you have, the more interested you are in cap tables and pitch decks and things like that.
Right. So you got Buffett as the Oracle of Omaha. Who's the Oracle, of course, of athlete investing these days? It was funny to hear Larry Nance Jr. tell us about it. He was like, I got a list, like then I get my advisor, and then I'll talk to this person, and then this person, and we'll get some advice here. He goes, and then by the way, if LeBron's in, I'm in. There was almost no questions as everybody sort of looked up at LeBron. Once it was known a particular deck would go around that LeBron was on the cap table. I'm in. Like, yep, I want a piece of this. So LeBron is certainly forging a new path.
I think LeBron, KD from a volume standpoint, in my mind, has done the most of this. I feel like he and 35 Ventures and Rich are not Rich, sorry,
Rich Kleiman.
Yeah, Rich Kleiman.
You got it right.
It feels like they are doing the most things. But yeah, at some point it would be really fun to kind of track these things and see. You get winners, obviously. You get losers. Like
Andre was in Postmates and some others that were. I think it was Uber too. I believe, if memory serves. It's been a while since I've.
BioSteel is an example of one that a lot of athletes invested in that didn't go so well, right?
Whoops. So that was in the hockey world.
That's the hockey world. I think Pat Mahomes was invested in that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's home runs you hit, and then there's strikeouts as well.
Yeah, well, if they want, they can invest in MaxPreps. What do you think? Anybody want a piece of MaxPreps right now?
It would be an interesting product for a number.
I think it would appeal to a lot of them. It's
together.
endemic, as we say in the biz. It's endemic to what they do.
Yeah, this is, you and I broke news this week that CBS, which has owned MaxPreps since 2007, is exploring a sale of the company. Part of CBS, part of Paramount going through its own sale process. And last week, the head honcho over at CBS, George Cheeks, announced that, by the way, we're going to be selling off some assets, trying to get a leaner portfolio for what's coming up. And it seems like MaxPreps is part of that. MaxPreps has a little soft spot in my heart. I mean, in high school in the early 2000s, right around the time that MaxPreps was taking off.
Nobody covers lightweight football like MaxPreps.
It's
Nobody.
maybe the sprint football not on the list I saw because there's not many high school sports, but
Gee, what a shocker.
it was for a while, unless you were picking up the Star Ledger physical copy, because the Star Ledger, at least back then, didn't have high school on the web that well. It was the only place to see, did Bergen Catholic beat Patterson Catholic. It was the only place to see, particularly for basketball, which is what I cared about in high school. One of the only ways to actually see scores. Coaches were calling these things in. It was a really interesting business model at the start. A lot of that has morphed now, Scott, into recruiting is huge business, particularly in basketball and football and baseball and volleyball and lacrosse a little bit to a degree, but has become a place for that as well. But an interesting property as all these changes happen in college sports, and as you know better than almost anybody, these changes are already happening in youth sports as well,
God almighty.
and the high school level. Yeah, MaxPreps has a good position there, and is not the only one that does this, but has good name recognition. I would be curious to see what this fetches, and maybe more importantly, who's interested in it.
Well, you grew up in New Jersey. I now live there and have a kid playing high school sports there. It like amazing to me, like NJ.com is the place you go for a lot of high
Yeah, that's
school
the Star
sports
Ledger. Yeah,
coverage, the
yeah.
Star Ledger. By the way, they do great work, but it's really interesting to see sort of the subscription products that come up when
Mm.
I mean, and all the parents who have kids playing, you know me, I'm this sort of, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not reading about my kid or the other team. It just doesn't interest me that much. Like I go to the game, I watch it. So I myself do not have a subscription. And it's funny when other people in town will tell me that focus group of one, was in an article or that was written about it, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, can you cut and paste or can you like whatever? Or I'm like, oh, that's nice. I
Can't
I
see it.
just don't participate. Yeah. And did I show you the video of the hockey? Yeah, I showed you the hockey video, but just to show you how crazy this world is getting and like this professionalization of youth sports. And I'm knee deep into the hockey side, but there's this summer tournament, and I'm not going to name any names here, but there was a summer tournament or spring tournament, whatever. What season are we in right now? Put it to you this way. It's the off season, a bunch of 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds skating around, having some fun. And something happened on the ice where the coach sends a kid out to go like take a cheap shot, and somebody winds up taking a helmet and throwing it, over the glass. And the coach, with really inappropriate language, starts screaming at the kid. Then the kid's mother across the ring screams back, and then he screams a derogatory thing about the woman. Then the woman's husband runs around, and I mean, we're hearing and seeing all this on the video. And the husband runs around, jumps up behind the bench, and punches the coach. In God's name, what is going on? It's insanity. This has there's even if it was the national championships, which we go to and we played in, and there's always yelling parents. What are you doing? Spring, summer, yelling like it just Novi. It was out of control, totally out of control.
That video, which you showed me, which
is by the way has been pulled down.
Has been pulled.
So, and by the way, yeah, because I mean, again, I don't want to I don't want to damage my son here. So, but it was video captured on Live Barn, which is sort of like the closed circuit. It's a service in a lot of rinks.
Yeah.
So somebody clipped it from there. One of these media companies that covers youth sports clipped it from there and then put it out on their platform. And it's been taken down. And I can't figure out why. Somebody called somebody and said, because the coach, from what I understand, is an executive with a firm that manages a whole bunch of ice rinks. That's so, there you go.
It's like I'm laughing because it's sad, but it's also like not that surprising, right? I feel like you
totally
come back
predictable
often with stories that are like you'll never believe.
I've seen the fist fights.
This father said to this father, this coach said to that kid.
Kid got left off the team. The parents are firing off angry text messages and emails, and all hours of the night. My kid should have been on the club, and it's okay. It's okay. The kid's life, the kid's future in hockey is not ruined because he or she did not make the U14 team. It's okay. Move on.
MaxPreps should have like a Hall of Shame style section about it that really calls people out.
Well, have I told you what I sometimes do just for fun?
No.
I've never told you this in the rinks?
I don't know.
When there is such an incident where somebody's acting like a buffoon, I have been known to approach the individual after the game, introduce myself as a journalist, say who's working on a story about fan misbehavior at youth sports, and would they like to talk to me about why they did what they did. You should like they instantly, become white, want nothing to do with me, it's just a way of shaming them into like, like, wait, somebody's going to read about this. So it's getting worse. It
Yep.
is and I don't know, it's whether it's I saw something interestingly, like the psychological whatever of the parents, and a lot of it was tied to that at least this was the supposition, that the entire social life of the parent has become embedded in the youth sport. Because listen, it takes up a lot of time. These are the people you hang out with. These are your friends. This is your who you're drinking with. Or a lot of the parents go drinking at night in the hotel lobbies and all that stuff. And there's a fear element of, if that's taken away, if my kid doesn't make the team, I lose my social outlet. I like that's all gone. So it's not just about like little Johnny and little Jessica playing sports. There's a lot of that component going on.
Yeah, I was going to say that as it becomes bigger business, all these things get worse. But I think you put a much more concise bow on it about the way in which the increased commercialization and commitment that families are making suddenly makes the stakes higher for everyone involved, not just little Timmy or Michelle.
So what happens now when we get Harris Blitzer and Unrivaled, and they're coming in and injecting capital into youth sports and roll up these things, and you're going to get bigger entities, and everyone's going to want to be on that team, and just gets worse from there.
Yeah. It does. Thankfully, Jackson won't have too much longer in the youth sports.
A few more. We've had some of the interest from the prep schools and all that, and that whole world scares me too. So I don't know. I'm not looking for. I'm looking forward to it while I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, happy off season to you, even though other peers are not celebrating it. Happy off season to you.
It is. He hasn't been on the ice. He's playing baseball. He's loving it. Congratulations, by the way, in one of his teammates, Jake Boganicki, whose dad Eric played in the NHL.
I know the last name. Yeah.
Oh, you know Boganicki? Okay, yeah. I was flipping through. I think our club team, Mid Fairfield, tweeted something about it. As a freshman, he was the starting pitcher in the state championship game. And his team was, and we knew, like, I've seen like Jackson, as you know, plays baseball, throws pretty hard. And then when Jake joined the team, we had heard like he's a really, really good baseball player. He plays up all that stuff. So of course, there's a few kids that play baseball. They bring their gloves to the tournaments and they go out and throw. And I was like, you watch Jake throw, you're like, oh yeah, like Jake's a pitcher. Like, look out. But he won the state championship game. So congratulations, Jake.
Very nice. Let's wrap things up, Scott, with one last topic.
Oh, what are we doing?
Jerry West, longtime NBA Hall of Famer, longtime Laker, passed away at age 86 on Wednesday.
And you knew his nickname, right?
His nickname is The Logo.
The Logo.
For folks who don't know, it's Jerry's silhouette. That is the running, dribbling silhouette on the
left-handed
NBA logo.
Mm-hmm.
I've already seen talk about what happens at some point in the future if the NBA ever were to change it, who it should be. You are an NBA guy, been an NBA guy for a while. Jerry West, is the logo forever? Is not the logo forever? What do you think happens there?
I would never say forever. They'll name some award after Jerry. So that'll come. The NBA likes to change with times, and it's sort of I think it does represent the style of play of years ago, sort of planted on the ground dribbling. I think today's NBA would be more of an aerial display of something. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the NBA logo does change to represent, I don't know, like a Kobe fadeaway, a LeBron to the rim, something of that nature.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
All right, well, there we go. That's why this works.
All righty.
I say something, you say I'm probably right. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't really have much thought.
I don't hear. At least you're listening to me now. Thank you very much.
He is Scott Sasha. You can find him on
talking
Twitter
about Jello, choking on Jello, and you bring it up.
Find me on Twitter at Novi_Williams.
Hot dogs.
The show is produced by Aaron Greenewald.
We're going to do this at a barbecue backyard.
Sportico's digital media editor, Cora Veltman, would like you to know that you can follow the show
Cora
at
Veltman
Sporticast,
references,
which is the hub of the Sportico Media Network.